Hello students, today will we discuss about Ada Cambridge as a poet. अदा कैम्ब्रिज जो हैं इन्होंने एन आंसर पोएम लिखी है. ओके. Ada Cambridge had led a sheltered life in Norfolk, England, and then in 1870, in the space of 3 months, she was engaged and married to a clergyman and on her way to Australia. While she had written some idealistic poems prior to her marriage, it was not until after she arrived in Australia, until after she had written volumes of letters. Ada Cambridge did not often attend church. To refuse to play the female curate, to fail to attend church, and to, after by way of excuse, a claim to a profession of her own, was quite too courageous stand for a woman to talk at the time. The great crisis of that life came in 1887 when Ada Cambridge was 43 years old. During many years she felt that her passionate spirit had been thwarted and repressed. Okay. Ada Cambridge did not often attend church. To refuse to play the female curate, to fail to attend church, and to offer by way of excuse a claim to profession of her own was quite a courageous stand for a woman to take at time. It says much about Cambridge and her convictions, more about her heroines and issues explored in her writing, what her non-compliance meant to her clergyman husband can only be guessed at, but reading between the lines of her autobiography and her words, it seems that she had personal grounds for questioning the reward of marriage. True, she never speaks of her husband and disparaging terms. In fact, she virtually never mentions him at all, and it is partly because that appears as a presence rather than a person that one presumes that their union was not one in which Ada Cambridge found fulfillment. The great crisis of that life came in 1887 when Ada Cambridge was 43 years old. During many years she felt that her passionate spirit had been thwarted and repressed. Though educated as a strict church woman, her questioning, striving mind was caught by the wave of 18th century doubt of theology, and she became in effect a rationalist. Before rationalism, only the broadest church could have held her, and she had married a strict churchman. She closed her mouth and in the cant phrase did her duty, but her mind could not be closed. For half her life she was at war with her environment. She turned herself into a valiant clergyman's wife. She bore children, attended church, organized charity, presided overseeing meetings. She did her duty. She strangled her dreams, silenced her mind, and confirmed what her doubt and discontent persisted. With an anguish increased by the arduous and overdriven life, she was often called upon to lead from time to time. She had written poems of personal unhappiness, intellectual skepticism, some of these representing moods of married life, others new belief gained in the process of thought and experience. In 1886, at a period of physical instability and storm, other Cambridge gathered these poems together and sent them to London for publication. Her small book of unspoken thoughts appeared next year. Perhaps 600 copies were printed. Perhaps 50 copies came to the authoress in Australia. Her name did not appear on the title page, and in the writing an effort had been made to suggest that the author was a man. A few copies were circulated in Australia. Brenton Stephens in Brisbane received one, and its influence is seen in some of his own verses and in those of two other Queensland writers to whom he lent the book. Henry Parkes in Sydney received one and wrote in it. The poems in Unspoken Thoughts show that at the age of 43, other Cambridge was prepared to break some of the prevailing taboos and the ask what life was all about. Was marriage all there was for women, and was the hollow reassurance of religion all that could be expected after more than 15 years of residence and with no prospect of passage home? Ada Cambridge was more than resigned to making Australia her place of permanent residence. But as her poem revealed, it was not just her allegiance to a country that had shifted in her scheme values. Clearly she experienced what would no doubt now be called a midlife crisis. And all was exposed in her poems. This could have proved to be embarrassing in clerical circles and could well explain volumes' abrupt and withdrawal. George Cross was overwhelming when he learned that his wife had questioned divine wisdom and doubted eternal hope. Read a wife's protest against the physical side of marriage. He read an answer to pleading, "Thy love I am, the wife I cannot be." These poetical attitudes may have represented long past feelings, but to an Anglican clergyman in Victoria in the 18th, the fact that this faithful spouse, his valiant partner, could dream such thoughts and write them and publish them even and however included with other poetical works, was horrifying. In the upshot, Ada wrote to her publishers in London to destroy the edition of the book, and this was done. She herself, greatly troubled, came to Sydney for a time. At home on July 28, 1887, wrote her beautiful sonnet, Peace. Her style, while developing a discourse and style of resistance and opposition in Australian poetry. Towards the end of the 19th century, Cambridge brings Australian poetry to a level of originality and maturity that transcends the narrowness of colonial preoccupations, that Australia transforms itself from a colony to a nation by the end of the 19th century, is evidenced by Cambridge's language of freedom. The 19th century Australian poetry is not a mere document of imitation and colonial romance, as is often alleged, but a vital historical document that enshrines the chronicle of the poetic efforts of pioneers in a new land. The Cambridge was born in the English Fen Country at St. Germans in Norfolk in 1844. Her father had a small middle class estate. Her mother was a country doctor's daughter. She was educated by governess at home and gave early tokens of literary talent. Her family life was strictly religious. Her first political essays, Hymns of the Litany and Hymns on the Holy Communication, were devoted to religious themes. While Cambridge began writing in 1870s to make money to help support the children, her formal published career spans from 1865 with Hymns on the Litany and the Two Surplices to 1922 with an article Nightfall in Atlantic Monthly. According to Wharton, her early works contain the seeds of lifelong insistence on the pursuit of physical, spiritual and moral integrity, as well as the interweaving of poetry and prose, which was to typify her writing career.